Black Hill Public School has 49 students. Its counterpart at Metford has 10 times that many. Today, the kids from the suburbs met the kids from the bush, and it's all under canvas. Year 4 students from both schools are camping in the Black Hill grounds for 2 days as part of their environmental education program. But the learning experience here goes beyond nature. The camp gives both sets of children the chance to experience a different type of school life.
Pupils in a small school don't always get the opportunity to mix with many other pupils their own age.
What differences did you notice when you came here to Black Hill?
Well, the classrooms are a lot smaller and there's a lot more room at Metford.
I thought that our Year 4 at Black Hill was big, but I didn't realise that other schools could have such big classes.
While the kids agree to disagree on the merits of big and small schools, all relish the opportunity to leave the classroom behind and taste education in the wild.
The normal price for cherries is about $5 to $20 per kilo. Simply Fresh at Charlestown Square bought this box for $230 per kilo. While onlookers were a little stunned, some braved a taste. The cherries worked out at $1.15 each. All money raised goes directly to charity. This year's price was the highest ever. But retailers say it's not just a question of money, it's also about tradition.
As far as the retailers are concerned, the tradition of raising the money for charity, it's also considered to be very, very good luck for the retailer who gets that case.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know. It's a tradition. Just like why is any Christmas tradition there? This is one that the fruit game has. It's good luck for the retailer that manages to get the case. And we hope we've got it this year.
They are all good riders, basic riders, but they're also quite athletic kids. They're quite strong for their age through doing this, and I guess they are gymnasts to a point, you know.
Behind the crash helmets, roll cages and dust, most drivers look alike, but there's one who's been turning heads on and off the track. Petite 17-year-old Julie Vine has been blasting new records north of the border, and she'll be out to make the Southerners eat dust. The Queensland team, led by Rod Singleton, will have to pull out all stops if they're going to beat the talented and experienced New South Wales squad. Current state champion Glenn Doddens heads a list such as Rob Smith, Gary Cross, Rob and Alan Day. Round 2 of the Super Sedan Masters also kicks off and will see Keith Rubeck competing in an all-Aussie Commodore. There'll also be the Wild Bunch from Gunnedah and cowboy Graham Lilford from Thornton. Don McEwen will be defending a slender 1-point lead just ahead of Bob Brewer. There'll also be a program of litre sports and stock cars.
On NBN News tonight, former Queensland Premier Sir Joe Bjelke-Petersen in Brisbane Magistrates Court today to face charges of corruption and perjury.
If you are a fruit and veggie retailer and you want the first bite of the cherry for the season, you have to be prepared to pay. Simply Fresh at Charlestown wasn't going to be pipped. They paid $1,150 for this 5 kilo box. Normally, cherries cost between $5 and $20 per kilo. This box cost $230 per kilo. That's about $1.15 each cherry. Not bad. While some were a little shocked by the prices, there was no need for concern. All money raised goes directly to charity. Bidding is tight between retailers. Tradition says to win this box of treasure is a good omen.
It's good luck for the retailer that manages to get the case, and we hope we've got it this year.
Shop owners are hoping the tradition doesn't get too out of hand. In Sydney, the season's first box of cherries sold for $5,000.
Sue was in top form today, keeping the children well entertained. To learn firsthand about their school's history, pupils quizzed her about life in her day. Despite this, she looks back on those days with fondness, returning here to give her very first concert. But she was not always the golden girl.
Ah yes, I think I was one of the first Sheilas to get the cane. I didn't get it often. I was the head prefect here. I wasn't the school captain. My sister Jane was the school captain here. But and Mum was in the tuck shop, so that always helped. But no, I was a bit naughty. I was a bit of a muck-up and class clown and used to talk a lot, and it was all practice for the stage.
Today it was centre stage in the playground for Sue and other past pupils who watched school history in the making. This table, made of wood from one of the classroom's first forms, was presented to school captains by its owner, former pupil George Walker. It will become part of a memorabilia collection, together with the 100-year-old bell. Photographic memories have also been collected. Tomorrow they go on public show, a chance to trace the school back to the early 1900s. But for the 100-year celebrations next year, Sue promises to come back, together with a band of Newcastle musicians and some songs she has composed all about Merewether Public School.
Police were called to Cessnock Road, Awabba today after reports of a suspicious death. As dozens of patrol cars arrived, the grisly scene began to unfold. A front window of the house had been smashed and a rock found lying inside. On the bed in the front room, police found the body of an 83-year-old woman with severe injuries to one side of her head. The elderly woman lived alone in this isolated weatherboard cottage, the nearest neighbours 400 metres away. She was last seen alive yesterday evening when her son came to visit. Any idea how she died?
Apparently massive head injuries. So they will be carrying out a routine search of the area shortly to try and find any weapon that may have been left on the premises.
The woman's two sons and daughter rushed to the home where their mother has lived since 1936. They spent the afternoon assisting police but were otherwise dazed by the ferocity of the attack. Sections of the yard were cordoned off as police mounted a search for a murder weapon. Metal detectors were used, even the water tank was checked. Scientific police fingerprinted the power box, the doorway and window in the search for vital clues. Police are not surprised neighbours heard nothing last night. A wild storm would have drowned out any noise.
Any violence is shocking. This is terrible out here. It's so isolated.
Police are reluctant to link any of the recent murders and will treat each as a separate investigation. But if post-mortems turn up similarities in the type of weapon used, then comparisons between at least the Western murder and today's grim finding may be hard to ignore. From Western, Tom Hilston reports on the fears of elderly residents in the aftermath of the George Woodcock murder.
Tight security surrounds the arrest of a 27-year-old Freeman's Waterhole man charged in a closed court at Newcastle this morning with yesterday's murder of 83-year-old Awabba woman Louisa Williams.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
On NBN News tonight, police discount any links between the Hunters' 3 bloody murders. West's open $16 million extensions at its Leagues Club, and Fergie arrives in Australia in time for tomorrow's Melbourne Cup. NBN News tonight at 6.
The nation's economic woes have been making headlines for months, but while other areas have perished, Newcastle's real estate market has apparently prospered.
At the end of June 1990, Sydney and some country areas had dropped by as much as 15 or 8 to 15%, whereas Newcastle at the end of that period showed an 8.8% increase. So we're doing very, very well at the moment.
The Real Estate Institute of Australia says the figures indicate a healthy level of economic activity in the area. Ironically, it seems the Newcastle earthquake has provided a badly needed injection of capital.
I know that there was a tragic loss of lives, but possibly it was the best thing that happened to us about that time. We needed something to bolster our local economy, and it did exactly that. Brought a lot of money in, and it's got us over this rough period.
Retailer feedback to the Newcastle Chamber of Commerce indicates there's still plenty of money changing hands in local shops.
There is a recession, and it's going to take some time to get over that, but I think Newcastle is coping better with the recession than other parts of the country are at the present time. That's very pleasing.
Meanwhile, the Newcastle foreshore was putting on its best Flemington car park imitation. Melbourne Cup fever was rampant in the Hunter, and the only treatment seemed to be a cooling glass of bubbly. It was much more than a horse race. It was the ideal chance to wear that new hat and totally forget about the Pritikin diet. For those unable to escape work commitments, the traditional office sweep was legal for the first time this year. And TAB workers braced themselves for what promised to be a hectic day. But for some, the role of a spectator simply wasn't enough. The Clarendon Hotel Stakes offered that hands-on experience. The horses may have only had 2 legs, but the excitement was every bit as intense. NBN's own Nat Jeffrey was the overnight firmer under controversial circumstances.
I came down last night, did a bit of last-minute track work. Well, I've got the strange feeling that I've been nobbled somewhat. I hope the stewards don't get onto that one.
Unfortunately, Nat's jockette pulled the wrong rein, and the weather-beaten workhorse was lucky to complete the course. The short-priced favourites from the SRA failed to turn up in time, and it was the State Revenue Department that collected the goods. But as cup time loomed closer, all eyes were on the main event, and everyone was an expert. What do you think is going to win the big race?
Oh, I back Laskin. Flying Laskin. The Phantom.
I've got a mystery trifecta, so I think my ticket is going to win.
The mystery was solved 100 out from home in Australia's most prestigious race.
Kingston Rule in front, the Phantom trying to get up on the inside, but it's Bart's 8th Cup and Kingston Rule wins the Melbourne Cup, I think. Second.
The winners grinned all the way to the TAB. The losers drowned their sorrows or went back to work. Bruce McKenzie, NBN News.
It is the 21st East Lakes Festival and a musical tribute to the talents of local children. For many of the youngsters, it's their first taste of performing in front of an audience, and an appreciative one at that. School choirs, bands, drama and dance groups took to the stage yesterday, and the non-stop entertainment runs until Thursday afternoon. Performers come from 43 state and Catholic schools from Bel Air and Charlestown in the north to Swansea and Nords Wharf in the south. Striking a chord with young listeners was the recorder group from St Benedict's School.
It's not the first time that the ward system has come before this council. This time it was endorsed because Labor aldermen withdrew their opposition and voted with the independents. The ALP turnaround follows their party's state conference, which recommended a return to wards in the city. If the state government agrees, the Newcastle local government area will be split into several wards, with residents electing specific aldermen to represent their areas.
It makes aldermen more accountable to the people who elect them. It means that the people, the electors of Newcastle and the residents of Newcastle have a closer association with their elected representatives. It's a far better system. It puts the local back into local government.
Alderman John Tate sings the praises of a return to the ward system, but his enthusiasm isn't shared by Citizens Group Alderman Don Geddes.
I see it as a decision that could create considerable difficulties to the revival of the city of Newcastle, and I feel that we'll get back to the bickering and the competition that existed in the prior councils as to the respective interest of wards.
A survey by the Hunter Research Foundation revealed that the community generally has a poor understanding of the existing system. 66% of respondents didn't know whether wards or city franchise was currently in use. They concluded there was a significant degree of confusion in the community.
What's the ward system?
Local Government Minister David Hay will be asked to reintroduce the ward system in Newcastle in time for next year's local government elections. Leslie Robinson, NBN News.
Last September it was announced that 5 Elcom mines would be sold, but so far only Liddell State Coal Mine in the Upper Hunter has gone up for sale. This prompted Mr Griner's attack.
My patience is approximately exhausted on this subject. There will be radical, and I mean radical change in the direction that Elcom has previously indicated. Ultimately, the government simply has no business being in coal mining in any way.
But today the United Mine Workers Federation said consultants' reports are still underway and they do not favour privatisation.
I believe that Nick Griner is asking for the government to act prematurely and dispose of those mines before people actually see the reports that are being made at the present time.
The union claims it has the backing of the state opposition and 1,700 members from the Elcom mines at Awabba, New Vale 1 and 2 and Newstan.
We haven't ruled out that there could be industrial action within the Elcom group should the government go ahead with this, what's called a radical change.
The Electricity Commission has refused to comment. Rebecca Skinner, NBN News.
The accident-scarred Pacific Highway is one road where drivers are most likely to benefit from the Lights On safety campaign. So senior police and supporters of the scheme gathered at Karua today for a symbolic switch-on. The concept of daylight running lights was pioneered by Volvo in Europe, and they're now compulsory in Sweden. Trials in Canada, the United States and Holland confirm the resulting improved visibility can reduce crashes. To get the scheme off the ground here, all 369 marked police cars between North Sydney and the border will become mobile reminders to other drivers to use their headlights during the day, especially on main roads.
With this launch today and with the publicity following, I would hope that the public get the message that it's a positive road safety feature, and in a short period of time that they'll purchase one of these automatic headlight controllers themselves.
Unlike other road safety campaigns, this one is the initiative not of the government but of the North Region Police Command, which has gained sponsorship from the RTA and Ultratune. Key to the Lights On is a small black box being fitted to the police cars. It automatically switches the headlights on or off with the ignition, avoiding the problem of a flat battery for the forgetful driver. The effectiveness of the Lights On campaign is to be evaluated by a team from Newcastle Medical School. And today it was foreshadowed that a proven reduction in accidents could lead to a future design rule which would see all cars fitted with automatic daylight running lights.
This is a tall fishing tale which actually came true.
Quite a load to carry, Phil. Oh, you're not wrong, mate. Bloody heavy.
Amateur angler Phil Uni was fishing on the lake late last night with a 7-kilo line and this tiny hook baited with brim when he snared the 31-kilo monster. That's about 31 times the size of the average lake jewfish. While Phil is proud to exhibit his catch, there's one very important detail he's keeping secret.
Can you tell us where you actually caught the fish? Lake Macquarie. Yeah, Lake Macquarie. For those people who want to know where it is, they'll find it, I'm pretty sure.
It's thought to be the biggest jewfish caught on the lake for 3 or 4 years. Phil says he'll get at least 20 feeds out of the dewie, and although he'll be back fishing tonight, he's not expecting another big haul.
Normally I usually catch a small flathead, 1-2 pound, nice table size, it's good to eat, flounder and maybe a few brim. But not quite the fish you caught last night? No, I'll never forget that for the rest of my life.